Alright, welcome back guys to a new video. This is part 31. Yes, you heard that right. And this is the part where we are actually almost at the end. This is the last, well, actually, it's not the last video, it's the video before the finale, really. It's the video where we actually will do the lighting and compositing for our render. Now, um, in this video, we'll basically talk a little bit about the theoretical part of lighting, and also I will introduce you to the compositing tab. But just as a small warning, I am not an expert in lighting. Like for that to master, you need a lot of experience, and it's a whole domain of its own, to be totally honest. So yeah, but for what we have to do, just for the introduction, this is gonna be more than enough. But yeah, so this is basically where we got, and yeah, so if you like this series so far, and if you like this video, please leave a like on the video, subscribe if you are not subscribed, and if you are subscribed, you can always leave a comment and share this video for others to see. And of course, share ideas with others if they might have gotten stuck, or if you just want to ask something. So, with all this being said, let's actually get to learn how lighting and compositing actually works. Alright, so here we are. This is where we left off basically. Well, everything besides the rails with the little planks in between that you might see right here under the train. Honestly, it's mostly because I kind of forgot about it, but it's also because really you don't need me to show you that. Like, you can definitely do it all by yourself. And actually, you know what? I need to leave the ground a little bit because it's too big. So that's actually a thing. This is how the road looks right now in material mode, preview mode, which looks fine, looks better than what we had. But the problem is when you go to render mode, that's where displacement is acting upon your materials and upon your objects. And because of it, basically the ground will get a little more of a bump because of the scale here of the displacement. So we can actually set this to maybe 0.25 to get actually just a little bit more down, and actually looks a little better. You will have a little less, of let's say height to your ground. We don't really need it, so it's fine. Also, well, this is something I will do probably off camera towards the end before the rendering, but I do think of adding a little more snow on the ground, because right now it just looks way too much, way too perfect, like a lot of snow on the side and no snow at all on the ground. It doesn't really make sense now, does it? But with all this being said, I'm just going to do whatever I can when I'll actually get there. But until then, we gotta do our lighting. So, what do we first need to do? First, I'm going to have a little disclaimer, really, that I am not super proficient when it comes to lighting. It's just something I'm trying to figure out myself, because I do think it's the part in 3D where really experience is key. Yes, I do know some techniques. Yes, I did learn some of the stuff, but still, it's the thing that you have to get over time. So, really, there's not really much, that you can actually, steal from someone else. It's something you gotta learn along the way. And I have some recommendations for you guys for like a better understanding, maybe, of lighting. That's Blender's Guru's course, really, or mini series of lighting. I'm going to have the link in the description for all the videos I'm going to talk about. Also, there's a light course for like a cinematic light that I will also give in the description. This is not Blender Gurus, but it's a really cool guy. I think his name is Gleb Alexandrov. Again, the link is going to be in the description for that as well. It's actually a video I saw pretty recent, and it's actually a pretty good stuff. Now, with all this being said, again, seeing these videos, you will understand quite a bit about how light works, really, and how you can use it for your, for your renders. I'm going to try to explain a little bit of that, but I do think these guys explain it way much better than I do. So, there's that, really. So, for the start, before we actually get into any of this, because yes, unfortunately, we need to go a little bit over some, well, let's call it some theory, really. So let me hide everything. Let me make another collection and call it just light lesson or something. It doesn't really matter, really. It's just me trying to do stuff. And let's have a cube, right? Right now we cannot see anything because, all the lights are hidden in the main collection, and basically we cannot use it. And also we are in render mode. If you go into object mode, you will be able to see, same for material, but right now we don't care about that. We're gonna be in the render mode. So let's get a light. Now, for the light, there are actually 4 types of lights. You got point, sun, spot, and area, and I'm gonna go a little bit over all of them. The most common, I guess, it's the point. It's actually the default one that comes with Blender, and it's, well, basically a point, as it actually says. So as you can see, you don't see much, really, because what happens is this right here is a very low light. So you can actually see some effect right now. And if I increase the power to, let's say, maybe 100 watts, now you can actually see the light much more prominent. And yeah, the point light basically is just a sphere or circle, no, rather a sphere, that like a bulb that basically just lights your scene from whatever you put it. Of course, we can change the color of the light to kind of whatever we want and basically choose whatever we need, which is pretty cool, actually. Now, light is very important in your render. It can change the whole behavior of your scene, and it can really change the whole perspective of your scene, really. And yes, trust me, I have seen a lot of scenes that are completely changed just by lighting itself. And actually, I'm going to put 2 comparisons between how our train looks right now compared to the one I had originally. And if you can see, it's actually a very big difference. And the biggest difference is, well, the original one was very flat because there was a lot of light. Now, it's not necessarily wrong, but it's also not too good. It looks really animated. It looks really cartoonish and 3D, which was kind of the point. But I don't know. I think I kind of mixed realism with animation in a very not good style, and the lighting totally did not help. Now it looks way more realistic. It goes way more into like the more cinematic look, and the reason for it really is shadows. Now, what shadows do, basically, shadows help us get information of a body. So let me actually make this, instead of 100, 10,000. And as you can see right now, let me actually pull this like this. If we look at it like this, it almost looks like it's a square. It doesn't look as if this is 3D at all, does it? Now, if I do this, now it looks like a 3D object. And the reason for it, it's not because of the light, it's because of the area here, which is the shadow. And the reason for it, it's because shadow gives us information of a body. So basically, the way we look at a body, the way you see your face, basically, every single curvature, every single dent in your skin or body or pores gives information to us to how a body really looks. So that's how we kind of get that. Now, here's the thing. If I actually decrease the light and make it 350, now we have a much more of a shadow. But if I do get closer to this, you can see that it also flattens it a little bit. So it really depends. Now, right now this actually doesn't look too bad, but it's also a lot of where the light is positioned. So, we have the color, we have the power, these are really important, but also what's important is the position of your light in comparison to your camera. Because let's say I bring a camera, and I have one right here, and right, I put this for the cursor. You'll see exactly why in just a second, but let's have the camera, maybe something like this. Come on. Oh yeah, right now I'm looking for the old camera, I'm sorry. So to look to a second camera, so if you have two cameras in your scene and you want to look from another certain camera, press Ctrl and 0 on the selected camera, and now we look from exactly where we want. And let's just do this, and that's pretty okay, I guess. And actually, let me get this a little more up, and let's rotate it just a little bit. Something like that might work. We'll talk about the camera at the render really, so don't worry about it. But for now, just remember this. Okay, so again, light really is important. There is a lot of light science, I guess, and lighting techniques that studios use for models and for the professional photographers use it for their scenes and stuff. And there are actually add-ons. Polygon is actually one of them that do have lighting setups that you can use, but they might not work for your scene. So you still might want to either change that, either actually do it yourself by hand to, make it perfectly for your scene. Now, the thing is, and that's really important, again, I'm not going to talk about all these techniques because I'm not an expert on them. Again, Blender Guru covers them. It's much better to listen to him. But basically, one of the things I understood for sure is when you look at a body, right? And if you light it from a certain angle, you can make that body look a certain way. So basically, lighting a body from right over the head, or basically right on top of it, will give the information a little different. Now, in this case, it doesn't look like too much really, and actually, let me bring something else. All right, so I have this human body reference, right? So let's say we have a human that we actually will look at. So basically, what happens is if we actually bring the light right over it, right? So if we do this, we will light the, basically, actually, let me pull this. This is actually a thing I do usually. So we have the render mode to see how the light affects our work. And also, the material or the object mode in this case on from the other side to be able to, place the light wherever I want and move it much faster. So if I do this, for example, right? This is this is like a top light. This is a top lighting. So basically, this is an over the head light, right? Like basically, this is lighting my body, my face here, right from the top of my subject. Now the problem with it is, this is actually used a lot like in horror stuff. Why is that really? Well, it makes the character look very menacing because as you can see, there's a lot of shadow that comes on the actual face because the face doesn't really get light to see all the information there. All you really get lighten up really is, the nose and the head. And actually, if you actually, get the power down, like, I don't know, 75 or something, and actually make this like dark, something like this. Now, this looks pretty menacing, and the reason for it, again, it's because, you know, you'd have only, it's almost like it creates mystery about it, and it's almost like hiding more of the face than actually revealing, which is the terrifying part. Now, another way you can do this is actually, again, going to, oh, this is actually pretty creepy as well, isn't it? Like, you know, have the light come from the eyes, and actually look at that. It's lighting the nose. But yeah, that's not what I wanted to show. Sorry. I'm getting distracted. Let's actually say that the light here comes right from below. Maybe something like this. I need to actually see exactly where the light is. So let me just check this to be right under our guy. All right, this seems to be a little more, and yeah, no, this is freakish. This is what what we needed. Let me actually get this maybe a little like this. Again, this is super horror thing. So let me get the power down a little, and again, horror stuff, because again, it's not revealing a lot of information about our subject. It's basically leaving a lot to interpretation and actually hiding more than it does. And actually, if you've seen, I'm gonna try to pull an image or something, but this is basically, you know, that face of the horror movies when the light actually, yeah, comes from the bottom of your face to, you know, light only like the eyes and a little bit of the nose and the cheekbones and stuff. That's basically what happens here. And again, the color of the light is really important because it sets the tone. Now, there are a lot of color, lessons and how to combine colors and stuff, but honestly, I just do it by the looks. If I think that looks good, I take it. Um, but usually for like horror stuff, I kind of use red and, you know, a little bit like darker colors or something. I don't go for like super bright yellow or stuff like that because they don't work, right? Red is probably the only, like, you know, colorful thing that actually works pretty well because, you know, brings kind of the idea of blood and stuff. At least this is what I think it does for a lot of people. So again, this is a way to light stuff to give this menacing appearance, right? But there's also, I think it's called a butterfly or something kind of lighting, which actually is lighting the subject from the top, but instead of actually putting it right on top of your body, you actually light it from the side. And the reason this is much more useful, and this looks much better, and if you actually look at look at our character here, looks much better. Well, it's actually a lot because um, again, let me actually change this a little bit, maybe to something like this. This reveals information, but it also reveals the face. So we have the information about the lip, like where the lip is, you know, about the nose and the eyes. We are covering a little bit of our, you know, head, but it's enough to just give us a little bit of information. And actually, this works pretty well. Now, we could duplicate this light and actually put it down here, make it like way less of a light. And this is even better because this again gives us information also of this side of the face while still keeping some shadow. Now the thing is, why we don't want this to be, you know, super powerful and also be here, because it creates a lot of exposure and we lose all those shadows. They give us, you know, some information about the face. So what we can do is first lower, you know, the power, which oh wait, lower the power of the light, but also it's very important how much the radius of our point light is, and the reason for it is the less or the no yeah the less the radius, the sharper the light will be. And what do I mean by sharp lights? Well, if I hide this for just 1 second to have only this light, look what happens when I actually get this radius up to something about like maybe 3 or something. So this is with 3 meters, the radius, and this is with 0. And actually from this point you can see, wait, oh no, I was changing the other one, wasn't I? Okay, yeah, that's why we couldn't see. So again, this is 0, and this right here is hero. So basically, with having more radius, you can see that what a radius does is how much of the light actually will or over what radius will the light kind of affect your subject in a way. Because when you have it to 0, basically the light goes super sharp. So where it's, think about it like a color ramp. Actually, the closer you bring the black and the white together, the more contrasty the two colors are. This is basically the same thing. When you have the radius to 0, or the smaller the dimension of the light is, the sharper and the more contrast between shadow and the lighted parts will be. But the more this light, the bigger the light will be, the more it will be able to cover, or the more it will be able to cover the subject. And that will get us a much softer light and a much softer passing of the light to shadow, and ease that follow between the two. And of course, now this light here will be way too much. And actually, let me make this 0. Oh, not 0.2, sorry, 0.05 or something, and get it down to like a 5. And now it looks pretty good. So okay, we have this down. But again, these are not the only two lights that we can have. And actually, one of the ones I use more often is the area. Now, area is, well, what it kind of says. It comes as a rectangle, and it's the area. And again, here's a creepy vibe that we talked about earlier. And you can change it from square to disc to ellipse and a rectangle. The rectangle is the one I usually use because you can change the X and the Y to be different. I just like it. And as you can see, here is again the same thing. So here's soft shadow because the light can actually enter a little more to touch our face. And here is a sharper light that actually will create more shadow. Again, this is another way to use your light. Again, rectangle is kind of the one I use the most because this to me makes a little more sense. But usually, yeah, it just depends on you. Depends on what you get used to, really. Area and point, in my opinion, are more or less, well, not the same, but kind of getting there. If you get used to one, you'll kind of get used to the other. While the other two, the last two, are not the same at all. So, the last two lights, the sun is, I guess, what you actually expect when I say it. It's the sun. So this is basically supposed to, illuminate the entire thing. There's really not much I can talk about it. It can be as bright as you want. Again, change the color and stuff. It just depends on you. Really, I don't explain this too much because I rarely really use the sunlight, and you'll kind of see why. Because I don't think it gives you too much control, really. So because it brightens everything up. Now, if you have an outside scene, yes, sure, maybe you want that. but I still think there are better ways to do so. So, that depends on you. And of course, the LED light. And the most interesting light, in my opinion, it's the one we, by the way, used in the train as well. And I will showcase it in just a little bit. But before we do that, this, my friends, is the one and only spotlight. So what the spotlight does, let me actually scale this a little bit because I don't like how it looks when it is like this. It just, I don't know, gives me the vibe that it is wrong when it is like this. So let me see this, from our angle here. And yeah, so the spot does basically what you want. Now, usually you kind of need a little more power than, for the point and the other lights, because this is what lighting on this spot. Like, it doesn't do more than that. Now, you can change this, you can change the blending of the light. So the more you blend, the more, again, the softer shadows, because the light will be able to blend much better with your subject. Now, if this is 0, you can see a little bit of a change in the shadows. They are way sharper, way less of a... Actually, the better you can see here at the neck, where the light really hits. This is much softer here. It's a really nice passing between shadow and and light. Also, we can change the spot size. The less you have, the sharper the light. The more you have, the softer the light. But you have to be pretty careful with it. And of course, the radius does what the radius does for the spotlight as well. Also taking care of your radius that you play with. Again, the radius does make it a little sharper, but not sharper in the meaning of, the shadows, but sharper in the meaning that it will only light this area here. So it will work like really as a spotlight, really. I guess you all know that the concept of a spotlight. So yeah. Now, talking about all this, there's one thing you should know about Blender 4.0. If you have any other Blender version that's less than Blender 4.0, you don't really care about this part. But if you do have Blender 4.0, this is one of the coolest things that this version of Blender has. So let me actually bring anything really. Let's bring a cube. Let's scale it down, kind of like this. And let's put it right on top of the head right here. Now, this seems like I'm going crazy or something, because it looks, one of those artsy stuff that seems super dystopian, but I'm just doing something I have no clue what it is. What happens here is this affects both bodies, but let's say we don't want that. I want the body to be affected by the light, but the cube to remain dark and stuff, or to light it with another light. Well, what we can do is something that only Blender 4.0 and forward can do, and by selecting our light, we can go right here to Object Properties. Now, if you go here, go to Shading, and here we have the light group and the light linking option. And the light linking, also shadow linking, by the way, again, appears only to Blender 4.0 and forward. It is one of the most awaited parts or options that Blender needed, and it's finally here. And we finally can use it. And what this does is you can create a collection. And actually, you can take the cube that we've created, drag it into the collection. And as you can see, this light will only affect the cube. But let's say we will drag also the man. It will affect both of them. And what's cool about it, from here, you can control which body is affected by our light here. We can unclick the cube. And as you can see, the cube is not linked to the light anymore, but the shadow still is there. And the reason for it is because we still do have a shadow, but if you have a shadow linking, well, basically it will do the same exact stuff. So we can drag both of these, unselect this, and sorry, that was for the body. I did not notice it. So let me do it again. No. Yeah, you have to be careful when you do this, because as you can see, if you select anything, you'll do it for the that body. So again, have the cube, unselect it, and here it is. No shadow is done from this cube because we cut it off. So yeah, this is a pretty powerful tool, and super powerful stuff that we can do with you know, our stuff. Now we can kind of forget about those now and get to what we're actually interested in, which is our actual scene. Now, there is one more thing that I didn't talk about, the cinematic lighting, let's call it, which is reverse key lighting. Now, what this means is usually a scene has at least 3 lights. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily, but that's, you know, kind of the standard, you know, professional rule, I guess. You would have the key light, which in my case would be this one, which is basically the light that has the most power, that will light the most of your scene, and that will basically be the most important part of your scene, which is a pretty cool concept. But for example, I don't want this, right? Then sorry, not that you don't want this, but you can, you know, change this. I don't want it to be like this is what I meant. So let me actually go from individual point to 3D cursor. So now when I will rotate the light, it will be rotated by the 3D cursor, and if I press R and Z, you can actually see that in action. And what reverse light key lighting means, and what that matter really talks about, is, well, kind of this, but you can see it because of the whole trees that are in the way. Let me just take them out just for a second there. And that's kind of the cinematic, a more cinematic version, and actually it does look super cool. And the reason for it, sorry, this is the light here that we'll talk about in just a second. And also the area here. And if I hide these two, and I will have only these, again, these are, I'll explain exactly what they are actually, but let me just move this a little bit. And, oh, actually, I don't like where the 3D cursor really is. Let me bring it something like this, maybe, and really you have to play a lot with the lights. And I think we need to make the size of this a little bigger. And actually maybe even increase the light. Let me see. It really depends. This could be actually a lot exaggerated, and it is. Let me put it back to, I don't know, put it to 15. It's 15. It's not good. It's too much still. I've put it to 5. And actually, I did like when it was here. So here, for example, it flattens everything. It overexposes everything. So we don't really want that. But we had one, oh, it's because it's too, okay. Let us do something like this maybe. Well, usually how this reverse lighting works, it's basically you should put this more or less opposite to your camera at like a certain angle from the camera, basically. And then you can just play, you know, around with the light. Now, in my case, this doesn't work a lot. Now, if you will look at, you know, Alex's video, you will see that his model and his scene, you know, has a much better work for this. But yeah, basically for us and for me in particular, this will not really work too great. Maybe if I change it a little bit, but even so, I don't really think this will help that much. Maybe if I increase this. No, this is just not enough. Like, this is not helping. Mm. Yeah, well, let me actually get this just back. Let me hide the ground one more time, because from here, when I got this, maybe somewhere like, um, not that much. Something like this. Now, again, this works a little better. The reason for it really, it's because we have the light here. Now, if we hide this, and actually that and this spotlight makes the most of it, doesn't it? Now, if we hide these two, you'll see we'll have a lot of darkness in here because this light is not enough to light our scene. It will not bring enough information over, over our train. You can see here though that the train is super lit. But here, for example, this is the thing though. You have to play. So basically, when you do this, you are filming like I think you call it. You'll film it into the shadow, which basically says you will film this really using the shadows. Now maybe instead of a square light, I will delete by the way the lights. I'm going to use new lights. Well, instead of the ones in the train. And basically recreate this whole thing from the get-go. But actually, let me see if what's it called? A point light will make a better light for us. And actually, let me get here at the top and move it a little bit, maybe somewhere around here. Get it a little more up, something like that, and get a part to like a 150. Make this a little bit bluish and get a radius up. And okay, 300, well, not 35, 350. Okay, apparently the light here works a little better. And yes, as you can see, if I go with a radius pretty big, it's going to help me. 450 and a 3-meter radius. Okay, this works a little better, and you can see it's a little more cinematic. And yes, I can go, ridiculous with it, but I will lose all the shadow, like everything really, and I don't want that. And I can play around with this, and this gives a nice, interesting vibe, but I don't really want that. So again, let me actually delete all the lights. And lighting and camera here, we will delete everything because we will try some new stuff. We will actually do some new stuff, but before that, let me talk about the lights in the actual wagon. So the reason I really use this is for the lamps. I needed this to bring a little more life to our scene, and here, as you can see, we use the subdivision surface to go a little bit through our lamps, through our body. You won't see it as much because honestly you can't, but they're gonna be there and they're going to look pretty insanely nice. Can I light this even like a little more? Maybe, but it will look awful because this is a spotlight. This is the thing with the spotlights, you need to kind of be careful how you light it. Let me see, let me get this up. Let me blend the light a little more, because I was not thankful with it. I didn't like how it lit the scene there, because it was too bright, too much. Use and even now it's kind of too much. Like, yeah, this is a little better maybe, but I don't know. Okay, this is actually better. Hmm. Yeah, no, maybe this actually works much better. And if this is the case, that's gonna be a small problem, because that means all of these here have to go, and this here has to, take place. You cannot add modifiers to light, so an array modifier wouldn't work, in case you are thinking about it. Because if you did, I did as well. It's not working that way, unfortunately. We're not that lucky. Blender did think of a lot of stuff. It did not think of that though. So, there's that. So let me actually take all these out and delete all this light here. And again, these are supposed to be spotlights because they don't have to light a lot. They just have to light a little bit that you see in the wagons there, and that's kind of about it. To bring a little bit of life to our scene and to our train, like, hey, there are actual people on the train. There is some life in there, and yes, there are luggages and people, and it brings also that coziness that I love about winter scenes, because you see the very cold outside of the train, and then you see the inside of the train where there's actually some warm light, and actually that looks so nice. That looks, yeah, much nicer. I like it. Now this here should probably be kind of about there. Yeah, no, it works this way. So let me, I need to put all the windows back, don't I? Without the cutters though. I don't like to see the cutters. And I always bring them back by mistake. Or at least one of them. It never happens to bring all of them. But yeah, this is how light works. And again, it's not much I can tell you. It depends also a lot on your scene, on your dimensions. Because yes, a light that I create, for example, will work in a way, and if you use other dimensions, it will work totally different. Now, here's what I was saying though. Because of this, right? Look what happens. We will have these spots on our windows, which is actually super annoying because we don't want that. And we don't really care about that too much. Which means this actually might be the best thing, because if you Alt D and copied this with Alt D, which we did, well, I did, and I hope you did as well. The reason you would want to do that is because when you change one light, you will change all the others as well. You don't have to, bother too much. And actually, would it have been better, maybe, just maybe, to have maybe a point light here? I'm just wondering, really. I'm proposing. Could a round point light, a little baby point light like this, with way less power, let's say a 3 watt. Oh, I think this is much better stuff. And actually make it a little yellowish. Make it less, so it's actually a little sharper. And let's make it 1.5, so we can actually have the lamps for a reason. Oh, this works so much better. Yeah, so again, let me So I did hide the wagons. I don't think I need to. Yeah, I don't have to hide the windows again. And there's but I have the top here, which is annoying, ain't it? Um, well, it's easier to bring the tops rather than the windows because those are more. So let me get this out of the way. And let me check this one out. So actually, again, we need to delete all this. And let me actually get into the solid mode just for a second now. All right, this looks much better now. But as you can see, there's still one problem. The problem of the window, because the window now reflects our light, and we don't want that. But now we know a little trick to get rid of that. You just select your light, get to the light linking here, and all you gotta do is go into the wagon, get the window, and actually, oh, well, all the windows, or actually, no, we can. Let me see, actually. Um, is the wagon interior in a separate collection? Because if yes, the inside, I was smart. By mistake, but smart. So select the light, get to the light linking, and get all the wagon collection in there and untick it. That's what happens now. This is not working for the oh, it's working only for one light, so we still have to do it for each of them. Well, that's annoying. Oh, or not. Wait. No. Oh, that's great. So light, you can call this, I don't know, light linking inside. I never used this before, not like this anyway. So I didn't know you can just get the light, just choose the light linking inside, for example, and that will just work. This is actually perfect. So you know what? Kudos to Blender. They did actually think about everything. So again, I'll do this really fast and come back. Alright, so here we are back to it again, and from here on out you can just play with the lights however you see fit. Really, you can play around with the radius of these, and actually this looks pretty good because it doesn't affect, this is a good thing, it doesn't affect the wagon and everything that's in the wagon collection. So basically you can play around a little bit with it to the point where you feel like it makes sense. So for me, that actually looks pretty good, pretty solid, and I like it. Now, here's the deal. What can we really do from here on out? There's another thing that is really, really important that Blender does actually bring in for us. And actually, you will also find it here in the material collection. When you look at materials, if you remember in the shading tab, there's this background we have. This is in render, isn't it? Here, this background we have comes from here, from this thing here, and this little thing it's called an HDR. Now, if you didn't ever see this, what HDRs are, it basically are images that are taken from a certain place that actually also has the light of that place as well. Now, why that is cool? It's pretty simple because you can actually add light to your scene with this. Now, this doesn't mean this will be the only thing you'll add, but you can have an HDR to give you the idea of where to start the lighting and then just tweak it from there. So basically you can come up here and you can click on the HDR and actually change the HDR to go, to something else and give you some other lighting ideas, which is actually a pretty cool feature. Now, we don't have one here. And if you go into render mode, actually, we don't have one. We don't really, can't use anything. But we can actually go to Blender Kit or Polygon. Both of them have HDRs, and search for, I don't know, like winter night, maybe. Really, you can name it. Some of them, will have to pay for. Some of them are already, out there. It really depends on you, and also depends a lot on the kind of scene you wanna have. So, you know, um, night sky. That actually might work, but let's see. Let's see what else we got. Really, it's a lot about this decision is like, well, what do you want? How would your scene? How would you like your scene to be? Um, and I don't know, really. Let me see. You know what? I might use the night sky one, or maybe this one. Okay, let's use silent night. So you can actually change the resolution. I'm going to keep it to 2K for now, and let it load, and let's see what we get. And here we are. This is how that HDR lights it. I don't really like it, but you can kind of get the point of what we are. Let me actually render this. So what I wanted to show you is that you can actually show up here and actually deactivate the HDRI if you're not, too into it, or, change it. Now, it depends on you a lot. For example, I did not actually like that at all. I'll be totally honest, I don't think I'll find anything I like. Maybe again this one could work. Personally, I don't think so. It does have a little more of the vibe I want, and that's actually having a lot more the vibe I like. And again, it doesn't have to work perfectly, and it doesn't have to do it. It just has to start it. But I did see one that I was a little more interested. Oh, but it's locked. Too good to be true, I guess. Well, let me actually enter. How about that? What will I give me? No? Yeah, too good, too bad. Sorry. Well, doesn't really matter now, does it? Let me bring up my trees, my beautiful trees. Now, because we have this, as you can see, this actually covers a lot of our objects, so we will need to light this pretty thoroughly. But what shall we do with our keyframing? Let me actually put this in right in the center with Shift C. And actually, again, let me look at the camera. I don't know why I keep messing this up. I should move only down here. So let me bring a light, right? Let me bring an area light. Move it somewhere like this. Wait, this is still moving like this. I want it right now over its origin. We don't care too much. Okay, let's see. So RXX. No, it's YY that we need to kind of hit our train here. And then the Z-axis, and we can make it a little bigger. And instead of 10 watts, let's go to 50. Let's see what 50 does. Okay, 50 is surely doing something. We can also push this a little bit to like a more bluish to make it, you know, actually part of the whole thing. How about 100? And 100 brings up way more information. This already looks way more like what we already had, which is actually pretty neat because we had an interesting look to it, that's for sure. Now, let me actually make this a rectangle. And instead of just X, let me push the Y as well. Maybe like this. You know, right from the camera, really. I'm hitting it, which is pretty cool. Now, as you can see, we cannot define a lot of things in the background though, and that's a problem. That's going to actually be a very big problem, and that is the reason why I actually had some lights there, if you remember. We did have some little point lights in the back, and those were kind of their priorities to actually light my scene. Now, of course, I cannot really use them like this right now, but those were used as rim lights. Now, if you don't know what rim lights are, it's basically helping me um, kind of give a little bit of a contour to our scene here. So basically, what I'm trying to say by this is um, now we know where the back of the train is. Now we know where this ends. Let me actually make it softer. Let me pull the power of this way, you know, way down. This is, in my opinion, still too big. So first. I think we should have this light a little more like this. But as you can see, this affects a little too much the terrain here, which is not exactly ideal. And also the snow is super affected, so we need to keep this light super low. We need to keep it so that yes, it affects our scene, but it has to be pretty hard to notice. It needs to give us a contour, but not to, you know, be so obvious that it breaks any possible reality check. So let's say we actually light this a little more, maybe give it like 35. Okay, and also we can take this light here and actually bring it kind of here. The reason I want this it's actually for the trees. Because as you can see, the trees are not really lit properly. Like, we don't really have enough information about them, and especially the ones here, we will see them. We will pretty much see a lot of it. But again, we don't want too much. So let me actually make this a little softer. So a 2-meter radius should do. It gives us information about the tree, but also light our train pretty much. Also, we might be able to push this to like a 150 so that we actually light the train a little more. Because right now we barely see it a little bit. But don't worry, there's something I want to pull off before we do any of these. I mean, before we, uh, finish up everything. So first, let me actually get this lead and select this face, Shift S, bring the cursor up here. And here I'm going to actually put a spotlight, an RY90, and the spot goes, well, you know, kind of up there. And let me make this pretty big. And there's something I wanna show you, and I wanna pull off. I don't know if I will. This is something that I still find a little tricky for me, but is something I totally wanna pull off still. Let me actually make the blend 100. Well, 1 really. Make this a little bigger maybe. And let's see if I can actually get this right. We will need a cone. How about that? We didn't use it before. We will now. Let's shade it. We don't really care about its geometry per se. What we do care is for it to match more or less our spotlight. And you will see why in just a little second. And actually, let me have it cover the entire light. So take this and actually let's make it to see only, you know, the bounds. We don't care to see the texture. And we gotta go into the shading tab for this. Now, I will introduce you to some other things, some other beautiful stuff. It was a little surprise that I wanted to get for you. It's really a thing. Let me actually change this back to, actually let me put it to a 90 thing. Oh, this looks nice. This will be our volumetrics. Now, you might have heard of the term of volumetrics before. It's something that it's pretty math, but basically what we want are those dust particles that you see in the light, and makes everything way more believable, and also makes the scenes look so much better. And I think this would work really good, at least in my head it would. But let's see. So we will want to put this, but instead of a principal BSDF and instead of a material, what we need to give this light is actually a volume scatter. Well, not this light, but this body, sorry. And instead of getting it into the surface, we need to get this into the volume. And this is where things get super tricky. And as you can see already, this became super tricky because what volume does, well, it's kind of what it says. It creates a volume of particles. And the problem with it really is that the GPU has a super hard way of actually computing this. And actually, you also have to go to light path and get the volume up, maybe to like a 1 or 2. Everything that's basically over 2 usually will work. Everything that is under 2, it will not work that well. So, you know, actually, because this is the bound, let me actually see something. Because this actually might be in our favor. So we don't want a box. We want a cone. Did it change it? I don't think it did, honestly. Which is a shame. I hope it did though, or I hope it will anyway. So really now it's a lot of playing with your density, which again, super tricky, and it does take a lot of getting used to. And again, I didn't really do this a lot for a lot of reasons, really. First reason, I couldn't really use them because again, this is super hard on your computer, and until I really bought a new laptop, this was not really something I could use. But trust me, volumetrics are incredible. Like, if you can actually use them, they are super useful. And let's try to pull a noise texture. Again, this is a way I'm thinking of doing this. I never tried it before, don't know if it works, but I will goddamn try it. So let's push this and actually see them right in there. Scale them like super much and make this an 8.5 detail. We need it very detailed. And an 8.5 to the roughness as well. Not 8.5, I think it was, god damn it, it's 0.85. 0.85. And save. As you can see, the saving will take a little more longer. Well, if you have a super beefy machine, maybe it will not. For me, it does take a little bit. Let's go to layout. Let's see what we get. At least for now. We might change stuff. We might also break Blender. It really depends on Blender, but you know, and it works. It actually looks so good. It's surprisingly good, and you can see it. Look at this. Look at this super tiny particle dust effect right there. Now again, the problem is you really have to play around with it a lot. It is extremely hard and it's taking a lot of time, but it's definitely doing what it has to do. Now the thing is, you can play with the light here. So you know, make the light a little more orange, and this will actually affect also the particles here. But you can of course also play with the particles themselves. Again, super tricky to do, but it's doable. Now, if you have a super beefy computer, you can try to do the same trick to the other two smaller lights, of course. Smaller spotlight, smaller cone, and you know, way less particles. But basically, that's kind of the way you can do it. However, I do advise you to really take care how you use well, really this sort of stuff, because as I did mention, this is not for the for every computer to do. So I know there are a lot of people that probably want to do it, and I totally get you, by the way. I wanted to do it too a lot, but I will advise you don't do it if you don't think your computer can handle it. It's very important to understand that it's better for you to be able to actually you know, actually be able to render the scene than have some particle system or particle dust particles in your scene. Now, yes, again, it makes stuff look a little better, but again, the cost for it, it's really big, like super big, and you might not be able to get it back. So this will be dust particles. We move this to light because again, it is what it really is. We'll move all the lights actually there. For some reason, they were not. They were in this one. All right, the spot will be train, train light. And the area here will be the hill light. And of course, the point here is the rim light. This one I always forget how it's called. I just call it the info light because I just use it to bring more information basically to my scene. I call it a rim light. So rim light, and let's save. Again, I love this so much, but I do have to admit, I do hate how long it takes to render. It's one of the things I enjoy, but I also hate at the same time. You know, it's a double-edged sword. It's important, but at the same time, as I said multiple times, just take care of it. Don't use it, you know, use it like crazy. Be smart about it. All right, so here apparently what I did was actually showing the view node the color ramp, and that's the reason I was saying the cone like that. But it works, it works. So we have the particles right here. The light is so much more natural and it looks so beautiful. So this, by the way, is an amazing effect you can bring to your scene. However, there's one more way we can use this in our advantage. And again, I'm moving this from the wrong side. I should move it from around here. So how we can use this is bring one more spotlight. Bring it kind of about here. Get it all the way up. And actually, let's try to point it towards my train, like so. Well, really, we will need it to be moved maybe like somewhere like that. But again, the whole point is to be on the train, and you'll see why in just a second. Let's get the blend. Let's be again kind of up. 0.75 for this one, and get the radius down like a lot. And let's make again a bluish light, very powerful enough that we can actually see. So let's actually make it 5,000. Well, 5,000 might be a little too much, maybe. I'm just, saying maybe too much. Oh, actually it was not that much. So 3,000? 3,000 is way too much. Or maybe we can actually get the radius more now. Oh yeah, something like that. Actually, let's make this a little bit of a darkish blue light. Something like that. Again, you'll see why. Don't you worry. And actually, no, the blend will be full. The radius will be there. And I promise you will see why. This will first light a little bit of smoke, which is perfect. Second of all, what we will do is make something I just said we shouldn't try too much, but I will for this one. Let me see if I can make this work the way I want. We'll bring one more cone. I swear cones are supposed to be used only for this stuff. Yes, I don't like cones too much. Please don't sue me. And R X maybe. RZ, no, R Shift Z to make it thinner, and RZ to, it looks like a joint, doesn't it? Yeah, we need to align it with our light. So GZZ, and try to make it be on the same route as our light. As you can see, I have a very tough time to do so. So let's actually, I can get the cursor here and then set origin to geometry, not to geometry, sorry, origin to 3D cursor. Perfect, because by doing so, I can take that one more time, put it right here in the middle of our light, or kind of in the middle, and I can take this, shift S, cursor, select it to cursor. Where is that? Here, selection to cursor, and now we can actually, RZ this, something like that maybe, then RX, X, something like that. Again, just play around with it a little bit. Now again, if you could maybe try to have a particle like that to your whole scene. If not, this is a good enough method. But this has to go all the way till here. And actually, I do advise you to make this a little thicker to actually cover our train, and you'll see why in just a second. Again, this will have just a bound to actually see through it. And of course, we go to shading and we use the same method basically. Actually, we don't have to, do too much because we already have it. We just select volumetrics, set it. Everything is basically done. Just save, because if you do this, it might actually crash Blender. And, again, all that losing your whole work kind of stuff doesn't sound fun. So I would personally do this if I were you. And let me see. Let us see what we get. I think I like this that much because I think it makes it way too foggy, and the reason would be, well, two reasons really. First, the spotlight I think is maybe not powerful enough. Let me make it a little more powerful. Let's see what it does. And also, well, the bounding box, I don't think this does anything really, but I'm just gonna make it a cone and actually also go to shading and get the density down to like a 0.25. Well, not point. No, wait, not change it for this. Just duplicate this and make it a 0.25 for this one. Let's leave the other one the same. Let's see if that's okay. And let us see. This does work a little better, but there's one more thing we can actually do to it. Is this too much? Is this light too big? Because I think it lights the train here in a very weird way. So it makes it super unfocused there. It's way too foggy. And it could be because, besides this, it could be the noise, really. So we can actually get this up, make it super detailed. Get also the density super low, like a 0.15. And let's save it now. See what we get with these results. And then show you the last thing we can do to make our lights more interesting. Besides volumetrics. I think it actually looks better now. It does totally look interesting, I'm not gonna lie, but okay, let's see this. So, the last thing that we can do is, if you remember, we have the tree that we scattered actually right here, right? Our tree is right outside of the camera. So we can actually select this, Alt D, and you will have all these trees. You don't have to panic. All we have to do to get rid of those is actually take the tree. Make sure actually, wait, before we do this, make sure you select the hierarchy, take it, move it to lighting cameras, and now we don't have those because they're not in the collection that's actually generated there. So we're good, we're cool. and we do this. We don't render, actually no, we do render that, sorry. And let's just take this tree here, and we will move it right in front of our light here. And you'll probably think, well, why would we do that? Well, there's a reason we would, and the reason is because of shadows. We will create super interesting shadows with this tree. It's an actual technique. It is used by a lot of people, and actually you can use it in another way, and I'll show you in just a second how. Alright, so before I show you the method, as you can see, because I forgot to actually show the results of these shadows, we now see some, shadows over our train here. Shadows that come from these trees here. Now, of course, these shadows are not perfect here, so we can actually maybe, play around a little bit with it, make them a little softer, something like that maybe. It just looks a little more realistic, and it doesn't have to, show up so much. Also we can take the light a little bit out. Actually, oh, not this much. Make it 5000, and actually it will look something like that. And this is the result we have with it like this. So you see some particles, you see, some shadows there, and don't forget, if you want to make the shadows a little, to pop up a little more, just make it more, make it a sharper light, and you will do so. You can also increase the angle if you want to see a little more of it, but that's basically how you can play around with this. I'll make this 2.5 degrees, and it works for me. Now, for you, maybe not. Depends on you. You can also make this, again, the light to be more or less contrasty. It's really up to you. I'll make this, maybe bring it to like a 0.5. It would work for me. And again, it looks pretty good. Now, again, to get the same effect with the shadows and not actually have to bring, and again, I'm doing it in the wrong one, and not bring an actual body, we can just bring an image. And yes, you heard it right. We will use our favorite images on planes, and we will need to actually get the image, which I think I did save at. What were they? Where were they? Come on. Oh, here, PNGs, and we can take a PNG like this one. You can create it with GIMP or make it yourself. It's, well, really up to you. And I would actually like to see it because I can't. Oh, it's up. It's all the way up here. Yeah, there's a problem. It's a plane, so because of that, I can't really see. Oh, it was up there, right? I forgot I put a cursor there. And also, actually, you know what? Let's make it a little smarter. Put the cursor right here to the light. Select our plane, wherever it would be. Well, I can actually take it just from here because I can't see it right now. Actually, let's go to material so that I actually see the image and see it's transparent. And of course I said the wrong one. It's part of everything I do, isn't it? Alright, here we are. We have it. We see it, and it's beautiful. Shift S, selection to cursor, and it will bring it to exactly our cursor, which is perfect. So RZ this, try to align this as much as you can to our, to our light. And that's kind of about it. Now, of course, This will depend a lot on the type of light you have. It will also depend a lot on, well, the entire thing, really. But if we scale this, first of all, you will be able to see it, which, we don't really want, but you can get it like down, something like that. Actually, we could move it on the Z, and yes, we will see it. Don't worry about it though. Let's have it like this. And the reason is we won't render it. But if we won't render it, we won't have it in the app. No, not good. Not a good idea. Dumb idea. E pentru că o puneam în fața camerei, de-aia ce băuți. So, make sure we actually don't have it in front of our camera there, but it can be in front of the light, right? So, bringing it kind of there. Let's actually see this from the camera view. This will be a lot harder to spot like this, because again, this is a pretty big light. And if we actually scale this down like this, we might be able to spot it. Maybe not. Maybe if we make this a little more powerful. Okay, so we put the shadows in. Now, of course, I will I may or may not change these depending on what else we need or what else I might find useful. And actually, I'm still getting a lot of it's too little information here, I would say. Again, I'm doing it from the wrong side. I should do it only from here. So, I do think one more light would be okay here. Hopefully I'm not overlighting everything. But this is just supposed to, like, light a little bit more the trees. Again, make it a little bit of a darkish blue color. And it's meant for the trees. We need to see a little bit more color, right? So a little power to it. Let's really get it down. Make it a soft light, but let's see what we get with it. Is it doing a good job? Well, it is, but there's one problem with it. Problem we know how to fix. It's super easy to fix. And again, I'm moving it from the wrong side. We'll choose the light and go to the data object and actually make a link for this one by itself. And we can actually put the whole ground collection in there. So that's how useful light linking really is. You can use a lot of lights to just show off a part of what you want, and it will just happen. You will just do exactly what you just need. Okay. This is pretty good. Let me see if I need anything else. Oh, but yeah, no, wait. We cannot have the whole ground stuff in there. So no. Let's get this out. The ground has to stay. It's because the ground has the trees. So it's actually the snow part that we cannot have to be lit by it. Right? Because then that breaks it. Yeah, okay, now this works. Now this works much, much better. Totally. Let me actually see the material to this. So maybe a 0.2 would work a little better. I think it's way too shiny. Okay, better. And yeah, this actually looks awesome. Now this looks pretty perfect. Would I want another line maybe? I don't know. We could have another light. Maybe this kind of light with the whole cone stuff. So yes, we would copy both of it. Shift D, go on X, and move both of them on Z axis. Then move them a little bit. And RXX maybe? And oh no, this will move them separately. RX. We need to kind of keep them together. And I did play with their rotation already, so maybe something like this. It's a little more believable, and we can also take like you know, one of the branches here. Come on. Okay, one of these images. You know, copy it, and let's actually try to move it in front of this. Scale it way down. And this will be a little tricky to move because it's just, you know, oh, actually it's kind of there. Scale it maybe down a little more, and just make sure this intersects it. Something like this maybe, to create, yeah, that effect of the shadow there. I think it's perfect. I think that's pretty cool. Again, if your computer is beefy enough, try to get particles maybe to your entire scene. Mine is not, so I'm going to keep it a little lazier. But also we could add maybe some more particles. I know I keep saying we should not add, and I keep adding them, but I gotta admit, I did not expect the effect to be so good. And I think maybe I should get the cone first down here, you know, and then also the actual light. And you know, let's actually also have the power lower. But I do want to have, you know, like a little bit of a thing, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it doing it? I think it's doing it. It's just that the power of this is probably not big enough. Or maybe I should also get this a little down like this. So let's reduce this like at 25 degrees. Let's also reduce the cone a little bit. And maybe also the light, because the light does a lot of the work, right? Because if the particles don't have the light to bounce, you know, through them, it doesn't really matter. It's not like it's doing something. And right now we're saving the work. Again, it will take a little longer because of everything we did. So we're almost there. We are almost done with the lighting phase, which is pretty crazy, and it's pretty fantastic, actually. I did not expect it to look this good. I'm totally in love. Actually, I expected it, only, again, it was the volumetrics that I was extremely scared of, because um, I'm not going to say that, like, the whole scene was built, and then towards the end, I did think a lot about volumetrics, and the more I was thinking about them, the more I realized volumetrics would definitely, change like the whole aspect of the scene. And I just felt like I need to have them. I need volumetrics in my scene, and I need to make it happen. And yeah, let's actually apply the scale to this. It seems like, oh, are they not perfectly put there? Wait, because the light wasn't selected. So let's actually make sure this actually makes sense. Let's actually make sure that it looks good. Because otherwise we worked all this time for nothing. I don't like that. Alright, let's take this into the shading, because I think there has to be a problem or something. So I don't know. It looks like it's not doing that much. Let's make it maybe, I don't know, 250. Maybe pull is actually way closer to each other. Because now we know that this was not a problem it had. And let's save our work. And after this we can hit a render and go to compositing, because that's the next part. And also one of the last parts. Alright. Let's hit a render. After this is saved, let's see what we get from that. Alright, so now that we're finished lighting, right? So this is what I ended up with after all the work. It took a long time, really, because now it renders super slow. So what I had to do, right? So the key light I put here, I took it out because it was flattening way too much of the actual image. So I actually went only with this spotlight, and actually I put one more spotlight to basically give, as you can see, a little more contrast right here. And also we have one more area light right here to actually light the cabin a little more and give us a little more information about that. But that's basically it. It's kind of basic. We also do have one light here in the back. So besides the rim light, which is actually in the back here to basically light a little bit of the edges of our train, this one is here to just, as you can see right here, make a very small adjustment to the actual light. Nothing, again, too crazy about it. It's just there to be. Also, we could get the depth of field out, which would in turn change a little bit of our render. I don't want that. We will talk about depth of field in the next episode, which is actually going to be, more or less about render and maybe animation. Actually, not maybe. It's going to be about animation as well. But you'll see what I'm talking about when we get there. But yeah, this is how it looks right now. I think it looks really good. But is this enough? No. I mean, kind of yes, actually. The scene looks great. But we can do a little more. And if we go to compositing, I'll show you another important tool, Blender has. And not just important, but in my opinion, might be up there with the lighting. One of those tools that, if you know how to control well enough, you can literally change your render like with everything it has just from this one tab. Now, the thing is, just like lighting, this, in my opinion, takes experience and takes really like um, a certain style to get. Because here's the deal. Again, this is basically using different techniques, and it just depends on what you want to get and how you're used to getting it. So let me actually not talk too much and actually do more. So here we actually go. You press on use nodes, and it's again like the shader node and like the geometry nodes working with a node system. Now, as you can see, and actually this is why I pull a second screen here, we will change this view to like an image editor, and we will actually look at the render result to be able, so this is the render. This is what I rendered so far. It looks really good, but we could actually probably push it a little further. Now, as you can see, we actually have some background that is transparent. Now, of course, we can put an image there, or we can put an HDRI, or create a sky-like stuff. We can do all that cool stuff. Now, we can do all that, or actually apply something from here. Now, how can we do that, you might wonder? Well, as you can see here, again, this works like a shader, a node from left to right is what we get. So let's actually press Shift A and see what we get. Of course, we will get, again, a lot of stuff, a lot of nodes. I'm not going to get into all of them, but basically, we can affect the image. We can basically do image editing and also put stuff over our image. Now, remember when I said when we will do our animation, now that we have volumetrics, and also because we have simulations of smoke, of snow, and so on and so forth, this might be a lot. This might be a little too much, actually. And because of that, I think it's safer for us to comp some stuff out and actually comp some stuff in. What I mean by that is we can render the snow and the smoke separate from everything else. And then when we render the final animation, we render it without these two simulations and actually come them back in here in the composition by basically putting an image or a movie over our actual animation. And here's basically how this works. So here we can actually put an image. So we can take an image, whatever image we want, and actually put it in here. Now, of course, I'm not gonna do this right now. We will do it, but not now. That's the way I did it with the original train as well. That's because it couldn't render it with the snow simulation and everything else I had in there. So I did the snow simulation separate and then just put it back in the composition. So let's actually take a look at what we can actually do in this one. All right, so I just did a little testing before. So we can take a mix. This is just like a mix color, nothing we didn't do in the shader, and we can just put it right here. Now, if we put, of course, this will be kind of destroying everything because it's just putting a white color over everything else we have, because it's taking our image and mixing it with a white color, and actually it's making it full. Now, of course, this is half white, half our image, but we don't really care about that. Now, what we want to do is take this factor and actually use something we have. And we can take the alpha here. Actually, let's cut this out and let's see what this is. And well, actually, we can't really see right now. You can see it in the right, actually. And it's like, so we have the white image here, right? And all the transparent stuff, which is the alpha, right? It's basically, so let me actually show you what the alpha looks like. If I could, wait, let's take the viewer out because it's actually not helping me with anything. So this is what the alpha actually looks like, right? So we take that, put into factorial, and actually take our image, put it right into the second place here, and there we are. And the color we choose here is gonna be in our background there, which is actually a pretty cool thing. Now, of course, that can be more than just that. It can be, an image and a small animation. It can be anything we might want. So, for example, actually, let me bring back the image again, and let me take an image. I think I was having a cool one. This one, I like it. So we can put this in here, and of course, um, this we can change this to generated to movie to a single image and so on and so forth. It doesn't really matter really, but yeah, now we have that in our background. What I don't know if we can do, I don't remember if I ever tried it, is did this just change? Yeah, for some reason that. So as you can see, it does change. Um, Now what I would want is actually see if I can catch the. Well, honestly, I don't need this, do I? Actually, what we really need. So let me actually put the image back, because I just realized having the moon in the back there wouldn't make any sense with it. And you would have to see the moon. So actually, let's not put that. Let's put maybe this. This might work a little better. But it's also, oh yeah, it takes a resolution of your image as well. So you have to make sure the resolution is, the same with what you render. Now that would not necessarily be a problem. Again, I'm gonna talk a lot more at the render about this and why that's not a problem. But basically, it wouldn't have been a big thing anyway. Anyway, it doesn't actually matter. Let me not waste time with it. So we make it a dark blue for now, maybe even darken it more a little bit, something like that. It doesn't really matter really. So let's do this. Okay, so we have this. This is pretty cool. This is pretty nice. But we can do much more with this, can't we? So what else we can do is actually we can take a glare node, which you saw before. You actually can find it at filter, and filters will be something that you will use most of the time because these are looking incredible. And as you can see, this actually makes a pretty cool effect. Now, of course, this is like super big. You can change also the way these shine. You can make it like ghosts, fog, glow, which actually looks pretty cool, and a simple star. Now, really, I recommend you not to, um, go out of your way with this one because it's not fully so we go for high and for low. So yeah, don't exaggerate with it is what I'm trying to say, because really you kind of want to be subtle with this kind of stuff, because wanna believe it or not, this is not gonna help you too much. So this is how we do if we get a 9, 8, or a 7. Now the thing is, we don't really want to affect too much of this. Actually, I might not want it at all, because this might affect a little bit of our a little thing we had going on there. But no, we can do like maybe a 7. Yeah, we can do a 7. A 7 looks pretty good. It kind of gives a little more character to it. I kind of like it. So you know what? I'll take it. Then let's say we want a little more. We can put a blur. And we can put a blur right here, and we can do a fast Gaussian blur. And actually, well, it changed a little too late. But yeah, as you can see, it does affect our render. Let's actually set this like a 10. So it's affected right now on the X. So if you put it like a 5, it's gonna make it a little blurry. Now I don't really want that. You might want that with a mask. So you can actually apply a mask to it, make it blurry in certain areas if you don't really want to see them. For me, it's not really the point here. But I would like to add some another filter, which is actually called a filter. You will find it first at a soften. We don't care about softening it, but we want to actually sharpen the image, because this is the effect it gets, and it actually looks already pretty cool. Looks a lot like a postcard, like a Christmas card you'd get, but you actually want to make this super subtle. Again, subtlety is kind of the key when you kind of use this kind of stuff, and the reason for it is because you don't want it to look like this, right? You don't want it to look super, like the colors to pop up so much. Actually, this looks pretty cool. I'm kind of lying to myself right now. I do like sharpen a lot, and that's a problem I get a lot of the times. It's because I don't really know when to stop with it. So let's actually make this, I don't know, trying to figure out where to stop myself. Let's see. What about a 0.1? Too much? Yeah, you can kind of see it. That's a problem here. Like you can kind of see it around there. Other than that, really, even a 0.5 is not that bad. It still looks good. I mean, it looks really awesome, actually. I like it a lot. So again, the postcard kind of feel. I'm actually going to save this just separately from all the others. I'm just going to say sharpened. I just like it. But I'm going to make this a 0.05. Think it looked good enough. Maybe 0.07. Again, nothing to catch too much of my eye, but it will definitely help a little bit. So again, yes, you can use sharpen, but please use it with use it while being discreet. That's what I'm trying to say. So 0.1 or anything below 0.1, like a 0.07, it works pretty good. It's still sharpening it a little, but it does a pretty fine job. Great. Now we can also go for let's see what else we got. We can put also a denoise. Now of course, it's not really the case anymore. This was for like before the cycles came with its own denoise AI for it. So this really doesn't matter that much anymore. But what we can have is, and I always forget where this is. Yeah, it's here. A transform lens distortion. So lens distortion, in my opinion, is super nice, for a lot of reasons. So you can actually use this for dispersion, which actually, let me exaggerate this a little bit for you guys to see what it does. It does this effect, which, yes, it's a lot, but if you put it to, again, a pretty low value, it is a very subtle little thing it does. And do it like this, 0.02. So again, 0, looks like this. Using that, looks, it again just gives a very, very tiny little detail on the edges and stuff. Super subtle, but pretty good. It always makes the image look a little better. I always use it. And you can also use this distortion, which actually distorts the camera and makes it, bend a little bit in front of the camera. Now this, again, leave it super low. Usually, actually, I don't really use it. It's just if you want them. But that's kind of it. So, yeah. What else can we use though? Again, composition is about playing around. You gotta actually use these to understand what they do. But here's another thing we can do. We can play around with the colors. And this is what this really helps a lot with, is we can actually adjust colors, mix them, to do all kind of stuff, right? But usually you kind of want to go to like brightness and contrast. All right, so let's say, okay, my image is pretty nice, but I would love for it to be a little more contrasty. Well, said and done. The image is now way more contrasty. It looks maybe the way you want to look, maybe not. It really depends on you. So again, 0, this is how it looks without. Let's put it to 1. This is how it looks with a little darkened, and yeah, it looks pretty good. Right now I'm looking and trying to compare with the last render we had, because that render to me was really good. And I really liked it, but I want this to be a little better. I want to have, I don't know, a little bit more. So let's actually keep it like this. The brightness stays 0 because I like it the way it is. Also, let's go back to color and get our, actually color balance. And here, so if you know how to play with colors, I mean, good for you, and please do. I don't. But you basically can play around with the actual colors. Yes, this is an exaggeration, but what I'm kind of trying to say is you can make the red pop a little bit, right? You can put this a little towards the red, so the red actually, gets a little better there. Or you can put it towards the yellow, so the yellow actually gets a little bit of a tint towards which one. But again, these are like, these should be subtle. You know what I'm saying? Don't go crazy about it. You can put it actually towards blue a little bit, because it is a blue night. It has to be, a little towards blue. And we're actually going to put it like this. Make it a little bit of a colder look. Also, you can put, I think it's color correction. Yeah, color correction. And this is the one I play around with kind of the most. Now, of course, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on what you need and what you want. But basically, you want to play around a lot with, the contrast, the gamma, the everything else you find around here. This is really just about you, about what you like. What do you think it's better for your scene, and so on and so forth. Really, I already like this scene a lot, so I don't really want to mess it up. But again, it's easy to play around with it. See, for the shadows, for example, this will be a lot. Actually, I kind of like the way the shadows are already, but let's say I want to put it 1.02 or something. It will darken them a little bit. It will make them, well, way too much, actually, if you ask me. And I put, yeah, exactly the same value. That will change everything, I guess. But no, this stays to 1. And yeah, you can just, actually, you can also, take it down a little notch. Well, this is not a little notch. It's like a lot. But you got a point. Like, you can take it down a little bit, see if you like it more. I don't, but maybe you do. saturation doesn't change almost anything. Point is, you can do a lot. You can literally do anything you want with this, and I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, right now I'm kind of happy with the image I got right now. So let me actually save this. I'm gonna save it separately from this. So yeah, this will be 2. And let's save the image. And yeah, that's kind of it for right now. And we can actually go to the outro. Alright, and that's about it with this video. So yeah, that's basically it for the lighting and composition. Now again, this is just a very small part of it. This is just an introduction. As I said, there are a lot of techniques, but I think I went through kind of the points where you can light your scene and you can create what you need for our scene especially, but you know, for everything you might want to do in the future. Again, my recommendation, don't stop at this. You should also watch the videos that I recommended to you, and also maybe you would like to actually well, you know, check out other videos, or maybe try to actually do more stuff yourself. So with all this being said, thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and also I really appreciate that you guys almost made the, you know, this channel to 100 people. At the moment I'm recording this, we're 99 people on the channel, and hopefully until tomorrow is gonna actually be the 100. So thank you so much. And with this being said, I'm just going to say have a great day and have a great weekend, and see you in the next and last video. Bye guys.